Dawson's Rambles.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with another Dawson's Top 5. This time is Top 5 Worst Omnitrix Toys. I already did the best one. Again, like I said at the beginning of the Top 5 Best, these are always my opinion, regardless of anything. But the Omnitrix toy ones, or any toy ones I do in the future that are sort of more of a recommendation, do have a little bit more of my reviewer-minded opinion in terms of I'm trying to think a little bit more objectively in certain instances, and I just want to make that clear. But it still is my opinion. So this list mostly includes like the deluxe grade Omnitrixes because there's been a lot of like smaller, like party style, cheaper ones that have a really quick non-electronic gimmick. I think one made it on this list that's like that, but for the most part I included the electronic deluxe-esque ones, but there is quite a lot, even a few that I don't own. But so it's a bit more of a mixed bag than the regular top list. And again, I have a cheat sheet here because it took me a while to work out exactly the way I wanted to order these, so I apologize if you catch me looking over. But okay, so there's no honorable mentions for this, because usually for that I have ones I either think almost made it or that you would expect to see on this list, and here's why they're not, but there wasn't quite enough for me to warrant mentioning any kind of honorable mentions. Okay, so number 5 is the Omni-Link Omnitrix, or I think it was the Ultimatrix, basically, from, not the Ultimatrix, sorry. There's a lot of Ultimatrixes I was thinking about. The Omni-Link Omnitrix from Omniverse. This one actually wasn't inherently terrible. It was very good looking in terms of like looking like the show, and the dial worked good, it had good sounds. But the main problem with that one was the fact that in order to dial in an alien, like you couldn't be like 1 turn feedback, 2 turns blocks. You had to do that every time. Like, okay, I want to do blocks, I have to turn it this amount of times. You couldn't, it wasn't just in order. And I felt it was just a bit of a clunky way to deal with the order. Like, especially like if you're a kid playing, I just imagine it being like, I don't know, it seemed like too much process. Like if I wanted to get to certain alien, I had to turn it so many times. And I think there just could have been a more balanced way to go about it. And it's probably the least deserving to be on this list in a way because it did have things I liked about it, but it was just a bit of a disappointment. Okay, number 4 is the Ben 10 Ultimate Ultimatrix from Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. This was a very good looking Omnitrix. It was almost presented as a collector's grade display piece Omnitrix, and it didn't look 100% show accurate, but it was kind of neat looking and shiny, and it's probably the best looking, or at least one of the best looking Ultimatrixes, but it just was a disappointment for me. It didn't have, all it basically had was beeps and boops, and it didn't really have anything unique or voice-like about it, and again, it wasn't like one of the most deserving to be on an absolute worst list, but it was a bigger disappointment, but it was a decent looking Omnitrix. Okay, number 3, speaking of Ultimatrixes, the Disc Alien Ultimatrix, which basically felt like a pseudo follow-up to the Alien Force one, where instead of putting the figures in, you had these little discs that you put in that popped up, like a little almost pop-up book figure of the alien. There was some decent things about it in being a successor to that style that the Alien Force Omnitrix brought. But it also felt clunky, and I remember it being hard to get them to click in exactly and to work right. And I felt like there were like these little button sensors that were silver on the top really took it out of looking like an Omnitrix and made it look very machine-like. Like, I don't know, like it just, the mechanics of it got in the way of making it look like an Ultimatrix, and I just remember that being a big disappointment for me. Number 2, the Omnitrix Shuffle. So the Omnitrix Shuffle, again, isn't one that was inherently really bad. I just felt it couldn't figure out what it wanted to be. I'm trying to think how to describe it. Like, it had like a motion sensing gimmick with some sounds, and then it sort of reincorporated, kind of like the Disc Alien, it reincorporated the figure gimmick, where you had a figure and you put it on and it would say the name of the alien, and if I remember for that review, I didn't even have all the figures and I had to like hack it, where I pushed the little buttons, and it had a lot of neat ideas and things I liked about it, and it just felt like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. And I think it could have been refined a little bit into streamlining the ideas together, or just outright separated into a couple different Omnitrix ideas. And it's kind of unfortunate, but yeah, because there was some cool thinking there. Just, I felt the shuffle, just shuffling around, I couldn't figure out what it wanted to be. Number 1 Unfortunately, is the most recent one I reviewed, was the Ben 10 Omniverse Gravitrix, which was going to be basically, I think, the last deluxe Omnitrix released back in the original Ben 10 era of, original series through Omniverse, and I finally tracked it down because it never released here in the US, or at least not widely, and it was pretty expensive when I looked around, and I just recently found it reasonably priced. So I picked it up because I'm a completionist, and I was looking forward to getting it because a lot of the ones on this list actually have neat ideas that just weren't used to their fullest potential. Like, basically, the ideas sort of took the feel of when Ben would pop up the menu and, you'd get the little wheel, and it was like hovering above. And I sort of think that it took the idea of that, and basically you would hover your hand above the Omnitrix, and depending on what length you were hovering, it would select an alien and you'd slam it down. And that inherently was a really cool idea. And unfortunately, it made for a really frustrating Omnitrix to deal with. It was, and it's not frustrating technology. I guess it is frustrating technology, but I feel like it's a technology that will get better as time goes on, and it's not even like it's a new innovative technology, but I think it's something that can be perfected on, and it's something that was too early for the concept. And especially when I was filming the review, it was super frustrating, and if you just moved too much, it would glitch out to the halfway point in the menu where you couldn't select an alien, and it was hard to show off the exact amount of aliens, both in the review and post-review, and I was just messing around with it. It was like, really, it was the most frustrating time I've ever had with an Omnitrix, like I said, both for just using it and for the review. And I think the idea was one of the coolest they had, but the execution ended up being one of the worst for me. But anyway, that's my top 5 worst. This was a bit weirder of a list to make. And I actually ended up nixing the one that was on this list initially, like halfway through the video, of there was like a non-deluxe one, which was the Omnitrix Challenge, because there is a lot of ones like that that are not deluxe. They're just kind of a smaller scale, cheaper gimmick, but I decided to just make it more of the deluxe line. But yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed that list. I'm hoping to do more Ben 10 tops in the future in addition to my other ones. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. It's Dawson Ryder, signing out.